aka Grandad Nick. It is with a heavy heart that I speak these words today. I am sorry I never got to tell you how much you truly meant to all of us, but I think you always knew. You always listened, you did not always agree, but I always felt heard. You were always there whenever I needed you, and you never failed to amaze with your courage, strength, and determination to push through and keep on going with whatever obstacles were before you. You have had the lion's share of hardships, pain, and sorrow, but after the rain there is always a rainbow, and you always knew where to find the joy and the spirit in life. You once told me that life is about the journey, not the destination, and not to be in such a rush to get there. When I was younger, I was always confused by your words of wisdom, but now I am slowly beginning to understand. Your journey began in Kilmorna, one of 7, 5 sisters and 1 brother. You were always destined in life to be surrounded by women. This probably made you the kind-hearted and understanding soul that you are. Our family home, the Gate Lodge, steeped in history, was where you spent your childhood days, a proud Kerry man, true and true. While working as a postman in Dublin, you met an unsuspecting Australian girl, our mom, and started sending her some love letters of your own. Soon she was taken by your charms, and the Kerry man was on a plane to Perth, Western Australia, halfway across the world to get married. From rural Ireland to the outback in the 70s, it was certainly a big adventure, and Dad, you were ready. He loved Australia, especially the freedom and serenity of the outback. He spent lots of time on my uncle's farms. There was quite a few stories and tales to tell. One of the tales was about Dad's big supply of deb, which is a mash powdery substance, potato-like substance, that you just add hot water to and you'll get some mash. Dad could never be without his spuds. They settled in Queen's Park in the city suburbs, but Dad still maintained a garden as he was passionate about growing all these new exotic vegetables like capsicum and pumpkin he had found in Australia. His other passions were entertaining, and everyone was always welcomed in our house. They had some great parties, barbecues, and even a pig on the spit. Soon the Kerry man was dabbling in all new cuisines, far from the bacon and cabbage days of home. They soon had 4 daughters in Perth. They sadly suffered the loss of their firstborn, Bernadette, and then us 3 Aussie girls soon followed suit. Myself, Maggie, and then Siobhan. Dad always remembered each day we were born, and tells all about the rain tumbling down in July when I was born, Maggie, the little Irish St. Patrick's Day baby, and Siobhan, where he was allowed into the hospital with Mum, and how it was so hot on that day in January when the rubber on his gear stick melted in his car. Lots of memories were made in Queen's Park, and they made a lot of lifelong friends there, who we are still in close contact with today. However, soon the Irish shores were beckoning, and Dad made the trip back to his beloved homestead in Kerry. Another adventure ensued. This time we all boarded the ship from Fremantle and travelled to Java, Sumatra, Christmas Island, and Singapore. From Singapore we flew to London and travelled back to Kerry, and he wonders where I got the taste of travel from. I have lovely memories of Dad telling me all about the wonders of the sea and teaching me all about the geographical wonders of the world. Soon we were all settled back in the Gate Lodge, and renovations began, with Dad telling us that the new septic tank was a swimming pool, and the neighbours all looking on at the crazy barefoot children and the strange-sounding Australian woman that was back with Mick Murphy. Dad was determined to show us everything the Emerald Isle had to offer. Dad worked away at his painting business, as he used to spray paint big farm sheds, until one day he had a terrible accident that made him a bionic man and fairly knocked him around the place. He had 21 plates in his leg and shattered off his shoulder. In typical Murphy Law style, this all happened when Mom was pregnant. Slowly Dad recovered, and with great joy, he welcomed his baby boy, Edward Michael Murphy, into the family. Many happy years followed, and fond childhood memories of tea and jam sandwiches in the bog, fresh grainy lettuce from the garden, nature walks, athletics, barbecues, mushrooms on the range, and all the animals we had. We had a pet goat, we had a pet calf, Lizzie the donkey, cats, dogs, and even some ducks. Our beloved pet, Stripes Larry III, yes, that was his name, the cat, he had as many lives as Dad had. Dad had an empathy with his cat and always gave up his seat by the range for Stripes. They seemed to have a mutual respect for each other. Later on in the journey, Podge the dog was his greatest companion. He looked out for Dad always, and especially when Mom passed. One day I walked into the sitting room, and there was Podge sitting on the lounge, hugging and consoling Dad as they both wept and cried together. He certainly did love nature and his animals, and he always took in the strays or any animal that needed extra attention. After his accident, Dad continued as a painter and decorator, and we always had a splattering array of different paint colours around the house. Front of house was always painted in the on-trend colours. I believe he should have possibly had his own renovation TV show. Eddie was his little apprentice, and every summer Dad was so proud to have him by his side. He even made up his signage for Murphy and Son Painting Company. Dad was very, very proud of all of his children and his grandchildren. He would tell anyone who would listen all about their achievements. Even though he never told us directly to our face, as he did not want us to get too ahead of ourselves. We had one more family holiday to Australia. This family holiday lasted 2.5 years. We returned to Ireland in the 90s, and my Dad would come back and tell many a tale of eating snake rings, running with emus, saving joeys, wrestling with crocodiles, and fighting off sharks. He was very fond of Australia, but his heart was always back in Ireland. He loved his garden, his big old oak tree, his beloved copper beech, which has stood proud at Kilmorna House for hundreds of years and seen many a Murphy before him. His deep-seated traditional Irish roots brought out a bit of a poet in him, a shanty. Some people called him the Bard of Kilmorna, and he certainly loved that. He loved to recite a poem or two, and he loved writing stories and plays, and many a night was spent around the table or the fire, telling a joke or a far-fetched story or two. He had a passion for history, and many youngsters would come knocking and asking all about the history of Kilmorna House. He was a very knowledgeable man, but was never afforded the opportunity of going to university or even completing secondary school. But he made sure that each of us had the tools to succeed and put a lot of effort and time into our education. We didn't have much, but he always found a way to get what was needed for our studies. I always say every diploma, every degree, and any merit certificate that came into the house was as much his and Mom's as it was ours. He collected every clipping from the paper with us fold off for planning for exams. He sent me to speak Irish and keep up my Irish. He kept maths quizzes. He was always questioning things, and he had a great inventiveness about him, always trying to make the next big thing. He even went about trying to paint it one of his anti-paint spill designs. He always taught me to believe in myself and was one of my biggest advocators at university, always encouraging me all the way to pursue my engineering. He brought the barbecue to Kilmorna. He was a proud member of the athletics club, the Myvan Knockanure BLOE. Many a barbecue, and a fun run was had. He was also a champion high jumper himself and a keen athlete. This memory will flow through with the grandchildren. There is also a story of Dad getting kitted out from head to toe in the white Aussie cricket gear and heading to Flynn's bar. I'd say they didn't know if he was an angel or what he was, or what was going on. He was always a bit of a larrikin, they would say, and it seems a bit ironic that his funeral's on today, Fool's Day of all days. Even more ironic that it's on Holy Week. He was a great believer and his faith was strong. He always had his rosary beads with him, and we always got the wake-up call every Sunday for Mass. Some of the fondest memories of all the family going to Mass, and then having the McKelligans call round. We all did the Sunday funny drives around the yard. Sundays were always great. We would drive somewhere and go on adventures, have a full Sunday dinner, read the paper and reflect on the week. But mainly, we were all just happy to be together. I could ramble on for days, recalling all the fond memories and the funny stories. Dad, just know that you were deeply loved and we will miss you terribly. You were a kind, wise, gentle soul. You gave us everything we ever needed, and all we needed was you. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for being present. Thank you for all the support and encouraging us to live freely, think deeply, and take absolutely nothing for granted. Thank you for teaching us humility and kindness. Another one of your great sayings, be kind to the people on the bottom of the ladder, as you will meet them on your way down. I will not say goodbye, as this is just another stop on the journey. Go now, Dad, and find your peace. Mom and Bernadette are waiting for you, calling you back home. Go collect your wings. Heaven gets another angel today. Love you always. Rest in peace.